Let's see here. Are we live? All right, I think we're live. Let me get my screens moved and we'll get this started. I think we're good. If you're watching this on the playback, I just need about 30 seconds to get things on my end situated, and then we're going to just jump straight in. So give me 30 seconds. If you're watching on the playback, you could just skip ahead. That would work just as well. And then we're going to get this thing started. All right. Got that situated. Let's get going. Hello, good morning, everyone. We are now officially live. I'm changing up my streaming platform, so I'm hoping today we're not going to have any technical issues like we had last week. Before I was streaming in the YouTube app itself. Now I've moved on to an official streaming deck. I think that's going to help things out in the long term. Hopefully the sound is good on your end. I've configured my microphones. I think it's going to be at par or possibly even slightly better than my pre-recorded videos. Another feature of using a streaming app is I can adjust my microphone settings, something that you can't do on the native YouTube platform. So very excited about that, and I'm going to just quickly go to my phone real quick, try to get my live stream set up here so that I can watch it along with you guys. For some reason, it's not showing up on my end. I may have to just run with it. And that's fine. We'll mess with it later. So, exciting things to talk about this week. I'll give a quick overview before we jump into the wellness check. Big moves going on in a few different categories. We've got the Clarity Act being voted on this week. I believe Thursday. It's going to be the 15th. So that's going to be a very big day for us to look out for. It's looking shaky. I don't know how it's going to play out, whether we have good news or if we have bad news. I'm going to cover it either way. Beyond that, civil unrest is ramping up as I thought that it would. We've got rising troubles going on in Iran. I saw some videos over the weekend that imply that things could be even worse over there in terms of police/military brutality versus their civilians, just giving out perspective. We're still starting to see that spread a little bit more here in the United States. I do think that could have an effect on the markets in general. It's something we're definitely going to be keeping an eye on. And then on top of that, if things with the Clarity Act don't work out, I have been looking into QUANT. I think QUANT could be a good play. They're getting the regulatory clarity that we've been wanting in the United States over there in Europe. If it doesn't work out here in the United States for the Clarity Act, I still think there's a pathway forward in the European markets and the Asian markets. So not all hope is lost. However, it would be a pretty big blow to us here in the United States as far as nations are concerned. So we're going to go over all of that today, and I'm going to just quickly catch up with the chat, and then we're going to jump into our charts, and we'll do the wellness check. So awesome. We got notifications. That's awesome. Oh, by the way, I may as well knock this out now since we're in the beginning of the stream. I am fleshing out my membership. I am fleshing out my membership page. I just launched it last night, so I still need to figure out how all that works. But as some of you guys know, I have decided to take YouTube full time, so that does mean I've got to start thinking about ways to monetize this channel in a different, kind of ramp things up. So that membership program is available to you guys. It is live, but I haven't really gone in and figured out you can make like custom emojis, and there's certain things that you can give members exclusive access to. I got to figure all that out. We'll talk more about that later, but I did want to at least announce that. I'm real quick going to pop out my... Sorry, when you switch from the YouTube app to a a different streaming platform. There's different options. Let me just throw this on the screen real quick. It'll make it easier for me to look at. What I'm trying to do is pull out my monitor so that I can get this thing. Here we go. Okay, cool, I got it. We're good. I'm gonna drag my screen back over. I don't think I'm sharing my screen yet, so let me go ahead and do that. Oh, by the way, this is cool. I made this yesterday. We could talk about this a little bit. I'll probably start out with the wellness check first, but if you haven't seen this video yet, I created this spreadsheet to kind of give a loose example of what the picture could look like if you really started allocating into cryptocurrencies heavily. Again, this is not a financial advice channel. This is entertainment purposes only. So anything that you buy, it is a speculative asset, not guaranteed to grow. But those of us that are believers, I do think that if you could hit a token goal, I never fixed this back from when I filmed it. If you could get to 10,000 XRP, 100,000 HBAR, and 1 million Flare, I do believe that would give you enough capital to probably retire in the next 4 to 5 years. Again, not a fortune teller. I hope these things do work out, but we always have to take things with a grain of salt. There's been a lot of things going on in the crypto world lately that haven't exactly played out the way that we want it to. But we're going to jump into the wellness check. Just going to start things off here. The weekend, not so great. So if you check the markets over the weekend, you'll know that it did continue to slide from where we were on Friday. Not a whole lot of vertical movement. A little bit last night, we did see a small bump, but it came right back down to where it was. I know that lately this has been kind of taking the wind out of a lot of people's sails. We have this giant relief rally just for it to go basically back to what it was at the beginning of December, which already, if we look, not all that great, right? So 1 month ago in December, things were not so good, right? If we zoom all the way out to July, that was when, hold on, I don't know why this chart's not going further back. We'll jump to the Bitcoin chart. If we zoom out to 1 year on this, we'll see that, everything was smiles back in July. It's been a rough 6 months. To see the relief rally kind of take a step backward, I know that a lot of people are getting a bit frustrated with it. What I would just say is follow the news, not necessarily the price. So crypto is being talked about on a mainstream level more than ever before. If you go to MSNBC, half the airtime now is covered on crypto news. So even though the prices are down, there's enough forward momentum to know that in the long run, I really do believe all of this is still going to work out, even if the weekly prices don't always look that way. Oddly enough, XRP, you almost never see anything like this. From the 9th to basically last night, it was almost perfectly flat at $2.09. Not sure what's going on with there, but it's very abnormal in the market to see an actual flat line like that, especially one that spans multiple days. We had a really nice relief rally, starting on the 31st. XRP was as low as $1.81 at its lowest. Rose all the way up to $2.39. Now we're back to $2.10. I still think that we're going to see XRP continue to climb. It's going to take some time for us to get back to our July highs, but I do believe once that happens, we might start to see the super cycle that is so often talked about. It's just something for us to keep an eye on. Now, there is something that I would like to announce early. A lot of people have been asking me about Quant. I spent quite a lot of time over the weekend researching it, and I actually bought Quant for the first time this week. So Let me look at the chat real quick to make sure that we're still synced up. Quant is an interesting piece of this puzzle, and here's what I want to say about it. If the Clarity Act does not end up working out for us, Quant could be a good deep play, because Quant is getting a lot more support over there in Europe, especially in the United Kingdom, than we're getting in North America with our own tokens or with our own cryptocurrency-based labs. Quant's also getting some good movement in Japan. So those are two things that I'm looking for when I decide when to buy a token. The thing I really want to see up front, what partnerships do they have? Well, Quant's going to be working with, I believe it was Toyota. I have some tweets that we saved. We'll go through later. I'm opening up a small position on this one. It's not going to necessarily be, my bread and butter. So don't think that I'm, hopping off the XRP, HBAR, and Flare train for Quant, but it's something that I'm considering as a deep play, and I'll continue monitoring it as we move forward. I'm going to jump to my phone here real quick. I don't know why I can't see my own live stream on my phone, but having this up on my phone allows me to see the screen a little bit better than I would through my second monitor. So I would really like to see if I can just get this thing up. For some reason, it just is not showing up on my phone. Very frustrating, but we'll just have to keep going. So let me see if there's anything I can catch up with the chat before we move on to more topics. I've been trying to research this myself. I was going to purchase 405. Well, that's quite the bag right there. I was wondering, the impression it operated on its own network or one of the other ones. When I tried to add it to Tangem, only ETH would show. So interesting thing about Quant, let me fix this thing. I've been looking into this interoperability angle, and the best way that I can explain it from what I researched over there about interoperability is it's kind of like, think when you go to sign into like a new website and it asks if you'd like to sign in with Google. Kind of imagine that same feature, but in the world of finance. So the interoperability will connect a bunch of different networks or machines that are on different platforms. It's going to be a way to sync them all together, where otherwise in previous, ecosystems, they would have been siloed off. So if you know about silos, the whole idea behind a silo is that they're not able to communicate with each other. So if Quant is able to bridge that gap, I think that would be a pretty cool thing. Let's see. Copy the link for the live of YouTube on your computer and send it to yourself as a link on your phone. Then it should open the live. It's a good idea. I'm going to try that right now. Maybe that's just something I'll do going forward. Let's see. How do I send this to my phone without it becoming... I'll deal with it later. We'll figure it out for tomorrow's stream. For now, we'll just keep going here. So interesting things going on in the Quant space. Looking at other prices of different coins. Another one people have been asking me about is TA0. So this is also one that I'm going to be spending a lot of time researching. Bittensor. Haven't had to say it out loud yet, so I'm not sure, but we'll probably just call it TAO to make things a little bit more easy. Currently at 284, has a total market supply of 21 million. So this isn't going to be one of those tokens where, if you had billions of tokens, the price would be super, super fractional or like pennies. Because there's only 21 million, this is going to have a higher price. In the crypto space, that doesn't always necessarily mean better. So we do have to look at total market cap when evaluating these coins. The total market cap on Bittensor, or TAO, is currently at 3 billion. And this looks to be a proof of work coin specifically for AI that has halving cycles just like Bitcoins. I was recently told that the TAO halving cycle just occurred, so we're probably going to see a lot of volatility out of this coin, which is really what we've been looking at here. Some people believe that this is about to have a major run. It's going to be something that I'm looking at, and I'll do more research on it. And if I do believe that there's something here, I will report back to you guys. For now, I'd say that Quant is a good backup play if you want to diversify a little bit and also hedge against the Clarity Act. But all things considered, I like to do as much research as I can before I give a coin an endorsement. I have seen people asking about SHX. Interestingly enough, I've seen it get comboed up with Stellar as well. So that's going to be another layer to the onion that I'm going to have to peel back. So Black Gold says, Quant is making moves in the background. The low token amount could mean big upside if it does become one of the chosen ones. Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. Something you'll hear people say a lot in this crypto space is, with this limited supply, if you have one Quant and there's only 21, or no, actually Quant has a smaller supply of only 15 million. So if you have one Quant and there's only 15 million of them, people will say like, oh, you're one of 15 million people that'll ever own a Quant. I mean, that is a true statement, but you can say the same for Bitcoin and XRP and Ethereum. And once you start to unravel that, you'll kind of start to realize there are a lot of tokens out there. But I do think this is a good play. I saw some headlines saying they think Quant's going to go to 1 million. It's a little too sensational for me, but if Quant even goes to $700, that's a 10x value on your investment. And compare that against the stock market, you're never going to get 10x, buying into the S&P 500 unless you wait, 20, 25 years. So a $700 Quant, I think, is more than enough to get a good return on your value. Interestingly enough, when Quant started, it was down at, Quant opened up at $1. So it's already up 73x since this thing launched. Pretty cool stuff. And that might not even be its original ICO. Wow, this thing ICO'd at 28 cents. Oh, that's pretty crazy. Imagine buying and holding from, the 2018, 2019 era all the way to now. You'll be able to retire off Quant alone. Pretty cool stuff. Definitely keeping an eye on this one. I don't necessarily know if it's going to go, 5 figures, but if it even goes to 4 figures, it's a good buy. Let's catch up on the chat a little bit. 20K XRP could be life-changing in a few years. 100% agree. That's why in my video yesterday, I really wanted to emphasize that if you can get this XRP target, 10,000 here is what I would consider entry level. If you can get that, I think that you're going to be in really good shape. By the way, is the screen frozen for you guys, or am I just that behind on my own? I do have YouTube up on the desktop version, but it looks like it might be as much as 30 seconds behind. So just kind of keeping an eye on that. Interesting. Okay, why is this? Sorry, guys. I'll deal with this later. On my side, I'm trying to get the stream up in a separate window, but for some reason, even my own shareable link is just taking me to a blank Google page. So we'll figure it out later. Still new to the streaming stuff. I started streaming officially last week for the first time. So I switched streaming apps. So instead of streaming live from YouTube's app, I'm streaming from OBS. The menus look completely different on my side. So, I appreciate you guys hanging in there as I figure this stuff out, get the menus under control. It'll be a lot more smooth going forward. Diallo, what's going on, buddy? If someone learned about XRP today, what are the top 3 reasons that you would tell them to invest? Ooh, that is a really good question. Reason number 1 would be the bridge asset. So think of it like this. Up to now, if the United States wanted to do business with Japan or business with the United Kingdom, they have to have pre-funded accounts with the other country's currency already in a vault. Now, this money can't be used for anything. You can't get yield on it. You can't really spend it. It basically just sits there waiting for the inevitable day when it might get used. And in some cases, maybe it never gets used. What XRP can do is free up all of those vaults, not just in the United States, but worldwide, so that you no longer have to have pre-funded accounts in order to transact internationally between countries. The big thing with that is that, okay, there might be trillions of dollars locked away in these vaults. If you free that up and have that converted to XRP, that would catapult XRP's market cap. Let's jump back over, pull up XRP here. If you were to free up all the capital that is in those vaults, well, we currently have a market cap of 130 billion. If you add trillions of dollars into that, again, I don't know exactly how many, that's going to end up being, but if it was 10 trillion, 20 trillion, etc., you're looking at an opportunity here where you could very easily 50x XRP, which is what would get it to $100 or more. And that's just the pre-funded accounts angle. We're not even looking at tokenization or the settlement of the back end of the stock market. And in some cases, there's just the peer-to-peer aspect of it as well. People like you and I buying XRP and transacting with it. I saw a tweet over the weekend in Japan, you can pay for stuff at a kiosk with your XRP. So you know how we use Apple Pay here. They're able to buy things with the actual XRP token. So there's going to be a use case for that too. It might not put much of a dent in it, considering, buying a coffee at a shop is $2 and having trillions in a bank vault is a totally different story. But all these things, you add them to the pot and they do all add up. So I think XRP is actually the #1 coin that you could hold right now. I think you asked for 3 reasons, and that was kind of a long-winded one, but I guess to summarize, bridge asset, tokenization, and settlement of the back end of the U.S. stock market would be my top 3. And there's a whole bunch of other ones too that would factor into that. Black Gold says Ripple itself is another reason to invest in XRP. It's a very good point. Ripple, unlike probably any other cryptocurrency, is poised to become a bank themselves that rivals something like JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley. I think these guys are going to be the Amazon.com of crypto. So when you have that kind of institutional backing, I just think that they're way ahead of the game, more so than probably any other entity on Earth. So that is the Ripple. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words here, but Ripple is the real deal. And having them as kind of the curator of this token just gives more reason to believe in it. Checking crypto company job openings to me is a good way to see how much they're growing. I think Ripple currently has 80 job openings all over the world on their website. That's an interesting point. So I used to work in SAP, and if I ever was to return to the corporate world, I think I would actually legitimately look for crypto-related jobs as opposed to going back to the SAP development space. We're going to try and make this channel as full-time as possible. But that's definitely something to think about. I mean, if you wanted to be part of the future, you could get a job from a cryptocurrency company. And I mean, you could do the same thing with AI as well. If you're getting a job that is specifically crypto or AI focused, I think that you're going to be doing very well in the long run, especially because, people are always saying, well, AI might replace my job. Not if you're the one developing it. So just things to think about. Vector says, anyone still holding XDC, Zinfin? When I first got into crypto, that was put next to Ripple and Stellar. Haven't heard many people talking about it at the moment. We can take a quick look at it. XDC. I don't actually know a whole lot about this one, so let's just look at the chart and then maybe see if there's a few headlines we can snip it. But beyond that, I'm not hugely familiar with this one. This chart basically looks almost night and day, identical to how XRP's looks. So it seems to definitely follow XRP for sure. XRP network launches 10 million surge program. I'll do more research on it. We don't necessarily have to jump through articles together, but I'll keep looking into that. I want to jump over to the JP10Y real quick. So the reason I check the JP10Y on a daily basis is to see if the reverse carry trade is going to unwind. Reverse carry trade is a very important piece of the puzzle when it comes to the domino theory for XRP. Now, I was thinking that the Japanese yield or the Japanese bond was going to continue rising in yield. It's actually somewhat gone down in the past week. And if we look at these trend lines, let me scroll this down so you guys can see it better. Or I'll just make myself smaller for a second. There we go. I'll drag myself back up in a minute. But if we look at this, it's actually kind of moved a little bit back down over the past week. So I don't know if the reverse carry trade is as imminent as I thought it was back in December. Doesn't mean that it's not still in play, but we probably won't see the reverse carry trade until it's around 2.5% or higher. So I do check this every day. And if it does play out that way, I'll make sure that you guys are the first ones to hear about it. But if it stabilizes or goes back down, I do think that the domino theory will have to go in effect with some other catalyst. Really briefly, if you're not familiar with the domino theory, essentially how it is structured is that in order for XRP to catapult to these crazy high prices you see on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, there has to be, they call it a domino effect for a reason. One domino has to fall that's going to push all the others down. And a lot of people think that the Japanese 10-year bond is the first domino. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but if the reverse carry trade were to take effect, in order to bring these yields back down, they would have to move from a high interest rate asset or currency, which currently the yen is becoming, into something that is inflation resistant. Well, we already know that Japan loves XRP. If the Bank of Japan does start to adopt XRP in mass, if you add 1 million market cap to XRP, that would shoot it up almost instantly. I'm going to pull up the XRP chart again. Sorry, I got an eye crusty. Let me just grab this little guy. There we go. If you add $1 trillion to the market cap in a single transaction, you go from 130 billion to 1.1 or 1.2 trillion. That's going to shoot the price up to the 20s overnight. And that's basically what the domino theory is all about. Because once you see that kind of movement, the other dominoes, for example, these preloaded vaults or settling the back end of the stock market, those start to become a little bit more feasible when the price of XRP already has gone up a bit. And then as the dominoes continue to fall, you go from 20 to 50 to 100. I'm still not entirely sold on the idea that we're going to have a 4-figure XRP, at least not, in the next 5 years. But if we were to see XRP land somewhere around $200 to $300, then you could certainly see why I want everybody to get to 10,000 as fast as possible. If you got 10,000 XRP and it does land at 300, or God forbid if 589 is a real thing, if you've got 10,000 XRP, that puts you in the high multimillionaire range. You can forget about your day job and start thinking about how do you really want to live life. Anything beyond 10,000 XRP tokens, you're just going to win faster. So if you had 30,000 XRP tokens, then all you need is for XRP to go to $100 and you're officially in retirement mode. I know there's people out there that have over 50,000 XRP. They only need it to go to around $30 to $40 and then they're at that same spot. So that's just kind of why, as an investor, I like to do what I call volume trading, which is when you go all in and just really hammer away at those contributions as best you can. Not financial advice, by the way, entertainment channel only. But if you were able to take some of the things in your lifestyle that, maybe going to a ball game or, going to concerts, things like that, stuff that's generally very expensive and that's, it consumes your money. You're not getting any long-term value out of a concert, as much fun as they are. If you could just sort of pull back on that, maybe for a couple of months, maybe even a couple of years, and then fill that time with gig work. So a lot of us have day jobs. Maybe drive DoorDash at night, maybe drive Uber. If you don't mind being on camera, I do think YouTube's actually probably the most lucrative gig work that you can do. Anything to get more income your way, cut back on your expenses and just dump money into XRP, because the clock is ticking. I don't want to put, spread FOMO, but if we see big price movements this year in XRP, like let's just say it goes to $5, for most people, you can forget about it. 10,000 XRP, it's at a $5 price. That's probably outside of a majority of people's ability to fulfill. And that's not even considering the fact that if it gets to $5, it's not going to stay at $5. So, you would be really racing against the clock. Personal story, last year around April, I was convinced that XRP was going to $5 before the summer. So I was accumulating XRP as if like the world was ending. This would have been almost about a year ago to the day. It didn't, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you look at it, it didn't play out that way. But at least from a personal standpoint, I'm glad that I did it, because whenever the price moves in my own personal journey, I'm good. And so at this stage, I'm basically just playing the waiting game. It opens up opportunities, though, to look at other coins, and, it doesn't hurt to have a diversified portfolio. It's been a minute since I looked at the chat, so let me catch up real quick. I'm going to scroll back up here. Starting with ZERP, we got XRPL has operated since 2012 with no ledger rollbacks. That is big true. They've never been offline. They're designed to integrate with TradFi rather than replace it. Another good point. Swift, and has strong developer and community ecosystem. You got that right. Got that community right here. Dean, if you're watching, big appreciation. I swear I'm going to get the other sign hung up sometime this week. I watched a lot of playoff football this weekend, so I didn't actually get to Home Depot to grab the rest of the hangers that I need. But So you guys know, Dean made the sign for me, ppclaser.com. I will get that up sometime this week. Promise. Catching up with the chat. Are people still chasing low market cap gens nowadays? I would say yes. So that's actually a really good question. So I do think that some of these coins, let me get back to the major overall list here. There's some real gems here in the 50 to 70 range. I'm just going to call them out as I see them. Starting at 58, Ondo is a big play. I have a little bit of Ondo. It's something that I'm considering buying more of as we get closer to tokenization. Algorand, another one that seems to be pretty popular in the EU. I'd say it's kind of up there with Quant in that it's a European focused coin. Some people have said Filecoin. Put it on the radar. I'm not sure if I'm buying that one right now. You guys know I love Flare. Flare's here at 68 in terms of market cap ranking. I think Flare becomes a top 10 coin within the next 5 years. Maybe even a top 5. Don't sleep on Flare. Flare is, in my opinion, the #1 DeFi platform. Only at a penny and a... Okay, here we go. We're at a penny and 1/10. We're at a penny and 1/10 right now. If this gets institutionally adopted, which I'm almost certain that it will, we're going to be looking at... Oh, geez, I don't even know. I hate giving price predictions, but I really do believe Flare goes to $1, and I don't think it stays there either. I think that this thing is going to move, and it's going to move hard. Some people have a little bit of FUD because, you know, the price hasn't really gone up since it's launched. You have to think about this when it comes with Flare. Every month they've got a Flare drop coming out. I want to say it's 670 million. I don't have the analytics up right now, but every month they got a $670 million Flare drop that hits the market monthly since March of 2023. Well, that comes to an end this month. So you have to think you're no longer going to have that giant influx of tokens hitting the market. I think that's going to give the token the runway it needs to actually start having true price appreciation. Plus, if you guys know me, I'm delegating and staking my tokens. So I'm already getting 6 to 10% returns from the yield alone on an annual basis anyways. If you build up your portfolio to a critical mass, like over here I said to grab 1 million Flare. If you only had like 700,000 Flare and you just staked it, you would actually get to 1 million within like a year or two. Without, maybe not a year, but definitely within 2 or 3 years just from your delegations alone. I'm about to burp here. Some staking is as high as 13% on the Flare network. So you think 13% of like 700,000 do that two years in a row? You could be at 1 million Flare just from your staking rewards from 700,000. And then anything beyond that, like, look, I think Flare is going to $1. So if you hit 1 million Flare, you can kind of think of yourself as like a Flareionaire. Maybe I won't say that out loud ever again, but yeah, these low market cap coins, man, I'm excited for them for sure. That's why I don't buy Bitcoin anymore. The amount of money that has to go into Bitcoin for it to continue growing, like it's at a $1.8 trillion. That's more that's more money than a majority of countries on Earth. I don't know. You know, Bitcoin was the original coin, but I don't know as a new investor if you really need to be buying it. I think the altcoins have way more runway for growth. Let's catch up on some more comments. We're going to head to Twitter around noon, and I got some videos that I'd like us to watch. This is just a question. With everything going on in the world, do you think it's better to get out sooner before certain systems are fully implemented? No, I'm holding for the long run. I don't plan on selling just about any of my positions. The ideal goal for me is to get as much of my tokens into staking and DeFi protocols as possible. Not every token has great DeFi, at least not yet. Flare, number one for DeFi. XRP can now be staked in Firelight. Of course, the vaults are still at 25 million and they're full. But in general, if you can get into the staking aspect, then you never have to sell. And, the markets will go up and down. We probably have a crypto winter in the future that you never know. It could be worse than any of the ones before. Maybe that happens in like 2032, like 6 years from now might be the worst crypto market we've ever seen, but it'd still be higher than what it is today. So I don't plan on ever selling. I'm a big buy and hold guy. Black gold, every high or low, people get priced out forever. If 1.8 billion is the new, people are already being left behind since the 50-cent days. Oh, that doesn't say 1.8 billion. That just says 1.8. I 100% agree with that. I'm assuming that you're referring black gold to XRP. So I'm going to jump back to that one. If you follow these charts, I'll tighten it up to 2020 because otherwise the charts become too hard to read. XRP moves like a tabletop. So for almost 2 years, it moved in the 30-cent to 60-cent range, right? After that giant hike that we saw not last December, but two Decembers ago in late 2024, never again did XRP go anywhere even close to the 50-cent range. All the downturns that we're seeing right now is still almost like a 4x on top of what they were seeing in 2024. So I do think the next time XRP moves big, you get these vertical lines that almost just look insane. Let's say the next one takes us to $6 or $7. You're never going to see a $2 XRP again. Once the ship sails, it sails for good. And then eventually people, probably myself included, will be making videos saying, XRP is $5. You got to buy it now before it's too late. And, that's just the way it is. If I was making content back in, 2040 or 2024, I'd probably be saying, you guys, 50-cent XRP, you got to get in now before it's too late. So you could, at a 50-cent XRP, you could have gotten your 10,000 tokens for, what's the math here? $5 grand? $5 grand would have gotten you 10,000 XRP. It's just crazy, man. But we can't dwell on the past. You just got to get in when you can. I didn't buy enough Flare in 2024 or I didn't buy enough XRP in 2024 like I should have. I wasn't really fully on board yet. If you drive a lot, like 200 plus miles per week, and especially if those miles are in a major city or highway interstates, Hive Mapper is an awesome DePIN project to participate in. Okay, that's cool. I haven't heard of that one yet. That could be something to look into. What makes you think Flare will do so well? I think I kind of addressed, this is my first time seeing the question, but I think I kind of addressed it. It's all about the DeFi options, getting that thing staked, getting it delegated, participating in lending. They've got the best user interface, at least as of right now. With the Xamin wallet, they're now doing one-click staking. So if you've been in the Flare game, you kind of know there's a lot of steps to staking. So getting that one step is pretty nice. I'm at the point now where I'm almost so used to using their own portal that I might just stick with that. But it's a great way for people that are just getting involved here to get into staking without having to learn how to do all the technical stuff. That's where I'm at as well. Thanks for answering. My only issue is if we get to the point in the world where we are required to have some kind of chip or implant. That's what my worry is. Yeah, man. That's part of the problem with the Clarity Act. We're gonna cover that. We're gonna watch a video here in a second. We're just gonna watch it together. We lose a lot of anonymity. Oh my goodness, anonymity. I'm not gonna use that word. I'm not gonna be able to get it out. We lose a lot of our privacy. We lose a lot of privacy with the Clarity Act, and we'll address it. We're gonna watch the video. I think we're gonna watch it here in a few minutes. It's not great, but the way I look at life is that when moves on the chessboard are made, you've got to be able to pivot and find the best way to navigate it. And I don't like the regulatory side of things where they're tracking you or getting more involved with the IRS. Not something that I like, but I don't know if it's going to end up being a chip necessarily, but yeah, I definitely think that that's not a great thing. We're going to have to figure out how to navigate that. It's written in text, not to be all biblical and stuff down the line. No one will be able to buy yourself without the mark or implant, so I want everything I need before that gets implemented. I think you're probably alluding to like Mark of the Beast stuff. I've definitely, I'm more up and up on that stuff than I put across. But part of the reason that we want the Clarity Act is so that there's multiple coins in the market for competition's sake. Because, you know, let's kind of unravel that string. If XRP was the only coin that gets adopted, that it kind of is like the mark of the beast, right? Like that is the only coin that you have at your disposal. Global currency, biblical prophecies, Book of Revelation. It's interesting stuff to think about. And I think if we have more coins out there, then the prophecy is not fulfilled. So how I look at that. 2.5 million cash is my goal. Spread that capital across traditional financial instruments like high yield saving account, money markets, CDs, live off the yield. My idea is at some point to spread the wealth and pick up some gold, pick up some silver, which by the way, I'm going to cover this here in a second. When I say buy them, I don't mean get the paper. I mean, get the physical coin, something I can stick into a safe. I'd like to have that. I'd like to have a couple of real estate properties generating me passive income through rental, like tenants. And the general idea is to have exposure to basically every single market so that no one market determines your wealth. Because even if you just look at XRP, and I know we're all XRP maxis here, but if all of your money is in XRP, then you don't really determine your own value. XRP does. If XRP does great, awesome, so do you. If XRP does bad, now you're poor. So I do think that XRP will be the vehicle that we can use to then diversify our income and put the money into separate pockets that are going to have different purposes. And I do think gold and silver definitely have a piece to that puzzle. Silver, all-time high. That's pretty interesting stuff. I don't believe it's ever been $85 before. It was briefly last week, but now we're on the upper end of 85. Might hit 86 today. Let me see if I can move my screen a little bit so I'm not blocking the rest of this chart. I'll drag myself up in a minute. That's good. Let's drag this bad boy down a little bit. And this silver chart's quite something else. I don't think we've ever seen a precious metal move quite like the way silver is. Very interesting stuff. I do think that I think silver is going to continue running because if the Samsung batteries that are going to be used in the EV vehicles, if that really becomes a thing, those Samsung batteries use silver. If this creates a silver shortage, oh, that could be really interesting. I can't imagine how expensive those cars are going to be. The batteries are something like a kilo of silver. Let me see if Google knows. Samsung silver battery. Oh, here's a Reddit post. I don't know if we need a Reddit post. Yeah, this is the Samsung silver battery refers to Samsung's SDI advanced solid state battery. $600 or $600, 600-mile range, a 9-minute fast charging, and a 20-year lifespan. It's going to take a kilogram of silver per car. Okay, let's jump back over to the silver price. At $85 or $86 per ounce. I don't know, that's too expensive, you guys. Are you gonna buy a car battery that's $86,000? I guess if you're buying a luxury vehicle. I mean, that's basically a Lambo. It's like a Lambo, dude. I don't know. Let me catch up on chat because I feel like I've missed quite a few questions. I got into crypto about a year ago after the election. Should have, could have, would have gotten in months before that. Hey man, we all had our entry points. I'm right there with you. I started in 2024. I watched Bitcoin ride all the way up. I was a never coiner for a while. It was from a place of pettiness, not because I didn't understand the technology. I also didn't like that people were making 100x off their investments, and then I eventually was just like, this is a me thing. This is my own ego getting in the way. I'm not saying that's how it was for you, but that's how it was for me. And you get in when you get in, and you just say, all right, this is my starting point. At least I'm in now and not after the next price hike, because then it just gets harder and harder. White in Vermont says that doesn't mean that Flare will do well, that the price will go up. I think once the airdrops are over, we'll see. I'm very bullish on Flare though, but I don't have a crystal ball. We'll have to see what happens. Daniel Hughes had a hard time saying that word last week. I'm assuming you mean the anonymity. I'm not gonna bother with AL3, good morning, Andrew. Could you play a little devil's advocate here with all the positive stuff in XRP? Can you touch on some events that could hurt XRP or what we should watch for? Yes. So let's say clarity. Oh, well, XRP has clarity. Actually, yeah. Let's say the Clarity Act does pass. Let's say the Clarity Act passes on the 15th like we're expecting, but we haven't seen mainstream adoption of XRP yet. There's a potential there for some of the faster coins like Hedera's H-bar, being that they are technically faster tokens, that they could absorb a lot of the market cap that XRP would have gotten if it was already institutionally adopted. I think that is something that could happen. I know Lewis Jackson has some videos out. Maybe we'll watch those on the stream later this week. I want to focus on the Clarity Act for now, but yeah, I mean, there's always the chance that XRP just doesn't get adopted, right? Or there could be another coin that swoops in and has a better white paper. So, it's like professional sports. Sometimes the best team, loses in the first round of the playoffs to an underdog team that, snuck in through the wild card. So anything could happen. It's something that we'll have to watch for. Not necessarily saying I think that'll happen. I got a notification here. YouTube wants me to give you guys a poll, so we're gonna do a poll real quick. What's your favorite coin? We'll do XRP, Flare, XLM, HBAR. What, I can only add 4? Instead of XLM, we'll put other. How about that? YouTube told me to do this, so I guess I gotta listen to what they want me to do here. While you guys hit the poll, I'm gonna jump over to Twitter. Or actually, no, I want to watch the Clarity Act video real quick, and we'll just kind of walk through it together, and I'll just sort of give my opinion on it as we go. Take it easy, work. We'll be here Monday through Friday, so in general, guys, don't feel pressured to be in the whole 2 hours if you got things you got to do. I am gonna get this thing set up real quick. Let me know if the audio plays. I think it'll play. I'm using a better setup here than before, but I watched this video over the weekend. I think this brings up some really good points. So
to use the recently released
by the way, this video is from the Coin Bureau channel. If you want to watch this video yourself, the title is Wall Street's Secret Plan to Overtake Crypto, or to take over crypto, my bad.
AI indicator.
If you've been on Twitter or YouTube over the last few weeks, you've heard the narrative. The Clarity Act is almost here. The influencers are telling you that this is the bullish catalyst we've been waiting for. They're saying 2026 is the year the floodgates open, the year that Wall Street money finally pours in, and the year that your bags will finally go to the moon. But while everyone is celebrating the green candles, almost nobody is reading the fine print. Because if you actually look at the text of HR 3633, the bill currently sitting in the Senate Banking Committee, scheduled for markup on January 15th, you start to realize something. This isn't a victory for decentralization. This isn't a win for the little guy. This bill is actually a Trojan horse.
So I looked into this a bit, and I do actually think he's right. He's going to get into it here in a second. I'll let him keep going, but I do have my own takeaway. Just sometimes we can be pretty black-pilled, and it's like, here's how you navigate it to try to make the most out of a bad situation.
It's designed to look like a gift, but inside, it carries provisions that could hand total control of the crypto ecosystem to the very banks that we set out to replace. We're talking about KYC requirements for DeFi front ends. We are talking about stablecoin surveillance that makes the Patriot Act look chill. And we are talking about a legislative sleight of hand that specifically favors massive custodians like BlackRock and JP Morgan while leaving anonymous developers out in the cold. So today, we're taking apart the Clarity Act and the Genius Act. We're going to look at who wrote them, who paid for them, and who actually wins when they become law. Is regulation worth the price of your privacy? Well, my name is Lewis. Let's find out. Before we go on though, remember that nothing in this video is financial advice, and I ain't no financial advisor. This is educational.
Me neither.
Content to keep you informed about all of the shenanigans going down on Capitol Hill. If that sounds good, then pick up that chair, crack a cold one, and hit that like button like it just insulted your sister, and let's get going. Now, to understand the trap, you first have to understand the bait. The narrative right now is seductive. We're entering 2026 with an overtly pro-crypto administration in the White House. President Trump has promised to make America the crypto capital of the world. We have SEC Chair Paul Atkins promising to end the war on crypto. And we have this bill, the Clarity Act, which passed the House with a bipartisan supermajority back in July of 2025. The promise is simple: regulatory clarity. No more getting sued by the SEC for selling unregistered.
AL, thank you so much. That's my first super chat. $10, man. I appreciate you. Big shout, AL3. Hugely appreciate that.
securities. No more guessing games, just clear rules so businesses can build. And on the surface, that sounds great, but let's look at what clarity actually means in legal terms. Section 406 of the bill creates a new registration category, digital commodity brokers. Now, if you're Coinbase or Kraken, well, this is great. You register with the CFTC, you follow the rules, you make money. But the language gets murky when we talk about DeFi. The bill supposedly exempts software developers. That's the talking point politicians like Senator Cynthia Lummis use. They say, we aren't regulating code, we're regulating businesses. But here's the catch. Lobbyists reviewing the recent red lines of the Senate bill have flagged a massive gray area. The bill treats DeFi front-end operators, the websites you use to interact with Uniswap or Aave, as registrants if they maintain control or, and this is the kicker, if they operate a fee-collecting DAO. Think about that. If a DAO votes to turn on a fee switch to sustain the protocol, that DAO might suddenly be classified as a digital commodity broker. And what do brokers have to do? Well, they have to collect customer information. Imagine
Real quick, if you want to review the Clarity Act yourself, I'm going to link it in the chat here. This is a very, very long read. You could probably read the full Clarity Act in about 3 or 4 hours. It's very dry material. But right now he's talking about line 406, which is about 3 or 4 pages long. If you have the curiosity and you want to dig through it, you can see exactly what's in there.
Imagine trying to swap tokens on a decentralized exchange, but before you can connect your wallet, a pop-up asks for your passport, your social security number, and a facial scan. That is not DeFi. That is just a bank with a different database. If this provision passes as currently written in the Senate markup, it effectively kills the idea of permissionless finance in the United States. You will have 2 choices. Use a fully KYC'd, regulated DeFi front-end owned by a corporation, or interact directly with the smart contract code through a command line interface, which, let's be honest, 99% of users will never do. But killing DeFi isn't the goal. It's just a side effect. The real goal is the bank heist. While everyone is arguing about DeFi, the traditional banks pulled off a masterstroke in this legislation. You see, for years, banks were kept out of crypto by something called SAB 121, a rule that said if a bank held your crypto, they had to hold a massive amount of cash on their balance sheet to offset the risk. It made crypto custody unprofitable for banks. Clarity Act explicitly overrides this. It bars regulators from forcing banks to hold extra capital against customer crypto. Why does this matter? Well, because right now, Coinbase is the custodian for almost everything. They hold the Bitcoin for the BlackRock ETF. They hold the assets for the institutions. But look at who is now gearing up to enter the market. BNY Mellon, State Street, Citibank. They have been building custody infrastructure for 3 years, waiting for this exact moment. The Clarity Act is the starter pistol for the banks to take custody of the market. And unlike crypto-native firms, banks have a structural advantage. They have direct access to the Federal Reserve window. And
Real quick, I'll let him keep going, but keep an eye out for this. This is a prediction that I myself have, is that in the coming years, we might see some of our favorite tokens, like especially XRP, delisted on platforms like Coinbase, maybe even Uphold, but definitely probably Coinbase and maybe Robinhood, in favor of you going straight to places like BlackRock or Vanguard or Franklin Templeton and buying the ETFs. And so that would make it so that you could still buy XRP, but only as a shareholder, meaning you would never get custody of the token itself.
they have trillions in existing assets. This is why the bill creates a qualified digital asset custodian requirement. It funnels all institutional money, your pension funds, your 401ks, the ETF flows, away from self-custody and into the vaults of the same banks that caused the 2008 financial crisis. They aren't trying to ban crypto. They're trying to gentrify it. They want to evict the cypherpunks and move in the compliance officers.
That's 100%
And if you think
right.
I'm being paranoid, just follow the money. In the first half of 2025 alone, the crypto industry spent over $18 million on lobbying. Coinbase dropped nearly $3 million. BlackRock spent over $2.5 million. Do you think BlackRock is spending millions of dollars to protect your rights to privacy? Do you think that they care about the ethos of decentralization? BlackRock's 2026 outlook explicitly calls stablecoins the quote-unquote plumbing of the future financial system. They want to own the pipes. And that brings us to the second part of this trap, which is the Genius Act. President Trump.
So real quick, before he jumps into the Genius Act, I know this is kind of unsettling news for a lot of people, especially if you got into crypto from the mindset of kind of like being a digital freedom fighter, where you are specifically getting into an asset that is not controlled by banks, allowing you more digital freedom, and as a kind of a way to stick it to the banks and all the layers that go underneath that onion. The way I look at this, and this is, yin and yang, you got your black pill and your white pill. The black pill side of this says that this is going to happen whether we like it or not. The white pill part of me thinks if you have physical custody of the tokens now, you can enter the arena and do battle with these banks directly. If we don't have any of these assets, then you just lose by default. So I'll continue after the video's over, but I do have more to say on that, and then we can kind of wrap this up and try to have at least a positive outlook.
Signed the Genius Act into law in July of 2025. It regulates payment stablecoins. Again, the name sounds great, guiding and establishing national innovation. Who could be against innovation? But let's take a look at what it actually does. First, it mandates that stablecoin issuers must be approved by federal banking regulators. If you issue more than $10 billion in stablecoins, you have to transition to federal oversight. This effectively solidifies a monopoly for massive issuers like Circle, USDC, and potentially new bank-issued coins, while making it nearly impossible for smaller, algorithmic, or community-backed stablecoins to compete. But here is the provision that hurts you directly. Ban on interest payments. The law prohibits stablecoin issuers from paying interest to holders. Think about that. In a world where interest rates are 4 to 5%, stablecoin issuers are earning billions of dollars on the treasury bills backing your tokens. Tether made more profit than BlackRock last year. Under the Genius Act, they are legally forbidden from sharing that yield with you. So, who keeps the profit? The issuers, the banks. It's a wealth transfer from the user to the institutions, codified into federal law. And it gets worse, because these issuers are now treated as financial institutions under the Bank Secrecy Act, which means that every transaction you make with a regulated stablecoin is subject to surveillance. They aren't just creating a digital dollar, they are creating a surveillance tool that tracks every coffee you buy, every donation you make, and every person that you support. If you use a regulated stablecoin, you are effectively using a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, issued by a private company. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but this is just the US, and crypto is global. I'll just use offshore protocols. Well, I have some bad news for you. The US doesn't regulate in a vacuum. When the US sneezes, the world catches a cold. And in this case, the US is aligning its strategy perfectly with the European Union's. The EU's MiCA regulation is already in full effect as of this month, January 2026. We are seeing massive fines. We are seeing delistings. Tether's USDT has lost nearly 28% of its European market share because it's not MiCA compliant. The US Clarity Act and EU's MiCA are two sides of the same coin. They are creating a global net. If a DeFi protocol wants to survive, it has to choose. Do you comply with US and EU rules, implement KYC, and censor transactions? Or do you go quote-unquote dark, lose access to 60% of the world's capital, and risk your developers getting arrested? We're already seeing the bifurcation. Clean crypto for the institutions and dark crypto for the rebels. And
it's really interesting. I'll let him finish, but if you guys don't know who Ross Ulbricht is, he created the Silk Road. I think all this stuff still really kind of ties in together well. If you're interested about that story, I could talk more about it. I'm reading the actual book on it right now. I could go grab it here in a second, but I'll let him finish.
Dark crypto is getting hunted. Privacy coins like Monero and Zcash are being delisted from major exchanges like OKX because they can't comply with these new Clarity rules. The Clarity Act applies the Bank Secrecy Act to brokers, and you cannot comply with the Bank Secrecy Act if you can't see who is on the other side of the trade. So, by definition, privacy is outlawed on regulated platforms. So, let's look at the scoreboard. Who actually wins here? Well, winner number one is Coinbase. They get a moat. They have the licenses, the lawyers, and the lobbying power to crush any startup trying to disrupt them. Winner number two, well, that's BlackRock and the banks. They get to override the capital rules that kept them out. They get to custody the assets. They get to issue the stablecoins and keep all of the yield. And who loses? Well, you do. You lose the yield on your stablecoins, and you lose the privacy of your transactions. You lose the ability to use permissionless DeFi interfaces without handing over your ID. And honestly, the industry loses its soul. We built this industry to escape the corrupt banking system, to build a parallel economy where code is law, not the whims of politicians. The Clarity Act doesn't destroy crypto. It does something even worse. It assimilates it. It turns Bitcoin from a tool of revolution into just another asset class for BlackRock to rebalance into a 60-40 portfolio. The markup is happening on January 15th. The influencers will tell you to celebrate. They will point to the price of Bitcoin hitting new highs and say, see, regulation is working. But ask yourself, is the price going up because we won, or is it going up because we sold out? This is the Trojan horse. We opened the gates because we wanted institutional.
I'll let him finish, but you and I have no control over whether this passes, by the way. We're all basically just bystanders.
Money. We wanted the number go up technology. Well, the money is here. The bankers are here, and they are rewriting the rules to make sure that they are the house, and you are just a gambler. Question is, do you feel lucky? Now though, I want to know what you think. Is regulatory clarity worth sacrificing the core values of DeFi? Are you okay with KYC on your DEX if it means Bitcoin goes to $200,000? Or would you rather stay in the gray area and keep your freedom? Sound off in the comments below. And if you want to understand how to protect yourself in this new surveillance regime, well, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next video, we're going to break down the few remaining privacy tools.
I think that was a really good video. If you guys liked this, go out and check out his channel. He's got like 3 million subscribers, so you can tell he's a professional. He's really got a good handle on this. I'm going to give my thoughts on this. There's a lot to unpack here. Maximize the screen here for a second. So there's a few different ways to unravel this. First and foremost, he wasn't wrong about almost any of that. I mean, he had that pretty good down to the button. This is just the way I look at things, the way I look at life. And maybe this is a little pessimistic, but I can't imagine a world where BlackRock is going to just sit by and let it be replaced. I don't know what everyone's awareness level is in the global story of humanity, right? The layers to this onion go very, very deep. I don't think that these power structures are just going to let guys like you and I, neighborhood guys living in Europe or United States or Asia, they're essentially blue collar or working class. They're not going to let us just create our own currency and, push them out of the picture. It's just not going to happen. The Clarity Act is basically that. Yeah, you lose a lot of your privacy through this. Through the CBDCs, it's got problems with the yield structure. The stable coins are being, more traceable. It affects your ability to operate anonymously online. That being said, I'm trying to think of how to say this, because I'm worried that the Clarity Act might get torpedoed on the 15th altogether. But I do think that in general, one way or another, this or something similar to it is going to happen. And if the bad guys are going to win, here's a white pill for you guys. For the first time ever, the farmer has access to the king's gold, right? So the best thing that we can do is be buying crypto and getting self-custody of it, because that basically makes you a combatant in the arena as opposed to just being trampled over by this new financial system. I think people that have no exposure to crypto, or, you know, for whatever reason, let's just assume that you're like 5 years old right now and you can't be buying crypto because you're in kindergarten. Those people are going to be left in the dust unless they have family members that are buying crypto, which I know some of you guys are on the older side. You're going to be able to set up your own family for financial success. If nothing else, this just goes to show you guys that if BlackRock is moving so hard on this, that they are pushing through regulation through the Senate, this means that crypto is the future. Whether it's a good future or a bad future, it is the future. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of money going into it. You could just say, you know what, just show me the money. Yeah, you lose that. It's like the Matrix, right? Maybe you don't want to bite into that steak, but even the imaginary steak is pretty juicy. I don't know. I don't know if that analogy hit very well, but if it's going to happen anyways, I would say position yourself in a way to take advantage of it. If the Clarity Act does pass, yeah, we're going to be, this is all news to me, by the way. I didn't know this until I saw this video. You're going to lose some of that security, or that, I can't say the word anonymity for some reason. I'm gonna have to like say it offline until I get it, but you're going to lose that, and you just have to find a way to navigate that space. I've said it before on this channel, I treat life like a game of Minesweeper, and I'm trying to get to the end of my years stepping on as few mines as possible. I know that there's a lot of people out there that, you know, they're into crypto, or they're into political activism, is trying to make the world a different place, or I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I might be a little bit more pessimistic that us as individuals can make that kind of impact or actually have real change. What I can do, what I have the power to do, is, for one, make sure that in a very selfish way that I'm going to be just fine. And then by operating this channel, I can give you guys the same insights, get you guys thinking the same way so that you'll be fine. And that's the level of contribution that I can contribute. And it ties into the stuff going on in Minneapolis. And now there was something in LA that happened last night with a moving truck. It's on Twitter if you want to go watch it. It's pretty gruesome. But this kind of stuff is going to unravel. There's going to probably be a lot of civil unrest in 2026. Life is like a giant chessboard, and my main directive is to stay alive. So that's kind of the paradigm that I look at things. As far as the Clarity Act goes, I'm still, maybe some people won't like this, I still want to see it get passed. I figure, live to see another day, fight another battle. I think getting out of financial dependence on, you know, the corporate structure we have right now, basically becoming you're like a human cattle, but instead of giving them beef, you're giving them taxes. Finding ways to just get out of that dependency loop is the first step. And then we can do the freedom fighting stuff later if we choose to do so. That's the opinion I had on that. I'm going to go grab the book real quick because I think that's something cool to talk about. I'll be back in like 20 seconds. So this book right here, it's American Kingpin by Nick Bilton. It's really cool. It covers the kid who created the Silk Road. If you don't know what the Silk Road was, between 2011 and 2013, you could get any kind of contraband or any kind of narcotic that you wanted through the black market through something called Tor, T-O-R, and that was the way to get to the dark web. And through that, you could buy just about anything that you wanted with Bitcoins. I'm reading this book. It's really interesting because not only does it cover the events, you get a little bit of insight into the mind behind the guy who created the Silk Road. His name was Ross Ulbricht, and he was a hardcore libertarian. He believed that Bitcoin was the digital gold that would give people financial freedom. And he thought that, as libertarians tend to believe, is that let the markets decide what is for sale. So you could go to that Silk Road website and basically buy anything. The guy wasn't necessarily a violent dude, but, running a platform like that, you end up platforming a lot of violent people. But I think it's very interesting to read that mindset and to see where the history of all this started. Because this video touched on it for a second, saying that there's the clean crypto and then there's the dirty crypto. It just really ties well into this book because it shows that since 2011, this battle has been being waged. That was 15 years ago. So 15 years ago, Bitcoin was going through this same stuff, at least to some degree. We're probably going to be going through it for the majority of our lives. I don't think the battle is ever going to be truly won in that you'll be able to wipe your hands and say, it's over, time to ride the horse into the sunset. There's probably always going to be some tug of war going on for as long as as long as we're alive. I'm going to catch up on the chat because I think I've missed quite a few comments. All right, let's see how far back can I go here. All right, Vector says we will need to come together as one. I definitely agree. Then we've got Dean says a lot of ads on your stream today for some reason. Let me know if that's a problem for you guys. I can go in there. This new setup I have allows me to kind of change the pacing of the ads a little bit. Today I had them set to run, I think, every 12 minutes so that ideally you guys all get an ad at the same time, but I can make them spaced out longer than 12. On a pre-recorded video, YouTube always gives you an ad every 8 minutes, whether I like it or not, but on the stream I have a little bit more flexibility. So you guys just let me know. I want to make this as good of a viewing experience for you guys as I can. And at the same time, if I'm doing this full time, I do have to some degree, have some monetization. So I hope that you guys understand with that. Vector says, I'm staying on hardware wallets until whatever solution we get to comes available. I feel like there will be shakeouts to try and get us to sell. I 100% agree. If the Clarity Act passes the way I think it will, and we have, capital gains tax removed from crypto, I think that's going to be a big lure to get people to part ways with what they've got. And the end game is for them to get what you hold. So again, I'm holding on to my crypto as long as I can. It's a big reason why I want to be part of the DeFi space, and I'm not just selling it for money. Baller says, Ito dropped a video yesterday, basically showed a dystopian society where every single thing is tokenized and how nobody has control over any aspect of their life. It's you'll own nothing and be happy. Could you link me that video? I'd like to watch it. We don't necessarily have to watch it here on this stream today, but maybe that's something we look at tomorrow. I know we've only got a half hour left and I haven't even gone to Twitter yet. So I want to jump to that here in a second. Just going to catch up with the chats. AL3, luckily we have a reputable company like BlackRock leading the charge. Oh man, if only man, there's so much I could say, but I don't know if I'm the right guy to say it, but I think some of you guys probably know where I'm going. Oh, anonymity. Okay, that's how you say it. Anonymity. All right, I can work on that, and I'll say it 10 times in the mirror tonight, and hopefully I'm good tomorrow. I would like to see them try and digitize the weed inside my jar. I hear you on that one. LOL, black gold. It's better to be passed now under the current government than the alternative. Yeah, I huge agree with that one. Like, huge agree. Vector, goal equals to survive. 100% it, man. There's a lot of things going on in the world, but if you can live to see another day, that is the best thing you can do, in my opinion. It's good to have a hill to die on, but this, in my opinion, isn't one. Ross Ulbricht accidentally built the world's most elusive black market in the world. It's really fascinating. This dude was like 26 years old. It was basically just an IT guru. I mean, he just loved coding. And when you read the book, a lot of the stuff that happens in here is almost by accident or by circumstance. Really interesting stuff. Amar says XRP will run it all. I do think I think that's true. Get YouTube Premium. Ads are the unfortunate reality of this monetization structure. Yeah, I'll probably have to get YouTube Premium myself. I do agree with you guys. I'll be honest, I feel a little bit conflicted about ads. I personally don't like them. But if I am creating content, you know, during the daytime, that means that I'm doing this instead of being at a corporate 9 to 5. So I have to think of ways to get this channel monetized. I want to do it in the least intrusive way possible. I don't necessarily need a lot, but the ad revenue, it does help with things. So if you have YouTube Premium, YouTube just gives me money. You don't get any ads, but I have on my analytics page, I can see how much YouTube Premium generates on each video, and it's roughly 20%. So those of you that have YouTube Premium, you don't even have to worry about it. Just watching the video is good enough. In addition to that, I did launch my membership program last night. It's not fleshed out yet. I still need to figure all that out. If you do want to help support the channel, you know, please consider even just doing the $1 a month option. Ensures that, you know, I'll have enough income with regularity to focus on the things that really matter, like, you know, charts analysis and doing my own research. And that just kind of frees me up and not having to worry about making videos with tons of filler content. To Aqua's comment, you know, there's no sponsors here, at least not yet. Never say never, but the goal is to try to kick that can down the road as much as possible so that I don't have to interrupt my own videos with a minute 30 ad read. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that point, but I'll be honest with you, there's a reason everyone does it, right? If they put enough big enough bill in front of your face, I think it's only a matter of time. But if I had the membership program and that ends up working out, that could sustain me for quite a while. By the way, like the video if you haven't already. I can't see how many likes I have without the stream being opened on something that's not my desktop for some crazy reason. I was trying to get this thing open on my phone. I checked it a few different times and it never showed up for me. Let's just see if it does now. This is so weird. My phone doesn't seem to think that I'm streaming right now. So I have no idea how many likes are on this video, but if you could like it, that would be awesome. Oh, wait, here we go. Finally got to it. Man. Let's see how many likes we got. We're at 30 likes. That's pretty good. If you haven't liked it yet, like it. Let's jump to Twitter. Oh, by the way, thank you. Awesome. We got 2 guys, Baller, Zerp. Appreciate both of you. Can't say enough that you guys are going to make this thing a reality. You know, I can't do this on my own. So you guys being here, joining the stream every day, talking with me, joining the membership program, I greatly appreciate it. I want to find ways, and I'll have to probably do this offline, but I want to find ways to make this membership thing valuable for you guys, to be able to interact with me on a deeper level. And we'll build that out over time. Let me jump over to Twitter. I think we're on Twitter. This was totally not what I was going to show you guys today, but I did see this video and I thought it was awesome. So maybe it's just something real quick, lighthearted, if it loads. It's like a bunch of 6-year-olds fighting. I'm a big hockey guy, so we'll jump to the crypto stuff for real. But this is pretty awesome. One by one, these kids just come out, and it's literally the whole team. You know, if you've ever been to a hockey game, you've probably seen they get the little mini mites out for in between periods, and it's like it's the whole it's the whole thing. It's amazing. It goes on for a while. We'll keep going. Exciting stuff. I want to get to my saved bucket here. My bookmarks. Thought this was cool. Bifrost had a tweet today. Look who they chose to put in their graphic here. Flare XRP Ledger. Not a whole lot to go on with that one, but it's always nice to see. It's always nice to see some Flare support out there. Just kind of lets me know that we're on the right track. I don't want to get too deep into this. I did save it. Something with a moving truck. I just want you guys to stay safe out there. Like I said on stream last week, I think civil unrest is really going to ramp up this year. Might affect the crypto market, might not, but it just in general, keep an eye out for stuff like this. If there's protesters in general, just try to avoid, no matter what side of things you're on. Bad things happen at protests, and a guy driving a U-Haul through a protest that's a new level. I don't think we've seen it that bad before. We won't click any further into that. I wanted to watch this. Should be crypto adjacent. Something going on with the federal chair. Let's dive straight into this.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike. In every case, I have carried out my duties without political fear or favor, focused solely on our mandate of price stability and maximum employment. Public service sometimes requires standing firm in the face of threats. I will continue to do the job the Senate confirmed me to do, with integrity and a commitment to serving the American people. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's kind of crazy. By the way, I'm going to see if I can get the live chat. Is this something you guys would want to see, just having the live chat run during... Because I think you guys can see it on your side just by going to the live chat box. Would you guys care to have it on stream, or... I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Do you want the live chat in the video, or is it having it in the side panel good enough for you guys? I'll move it over here for now. So that's interesting. Let's see what people have to say about it. Oh, I can't say some of this out loud. Oh, this is another book. I've got this. I'm reading this one next. So we're gonna talk about that one. I'll eventually do some book reviews. I want to get a couple books read first. I've been reading them specifically for this channel, so what is this?
And I think we're all gonna die!
Well, Jay Powell and Trump are definitely not friends. I know, I can say that much. That is a big problem between those two. I've seen people have a way that when you click a comment, you're addressing only that chat shows. I think that's best. I don't know how to do that. I'll be honest with you guys. I might have to watch some tutorials. I might have to do some tutorials. Let me see. If I pin, let's do, we're all learning together here. If I pin this message, does it pop up on your side? Like, do you guys get a thing? Because I know, like, even if I'm, for example, watching, like, Jake Claver's stream, it's just for an example, because he's a streamer as well. Does the big yellow thing show up at the bottom? I have no idea how to do that. So I just need to figure that out. Like, we got Maxwell Rinco. Sorry, buddy. Me and Max are friends in real life. If I pin him up, does he pop up on here for you guys? I don't know. I guess we'll have to figure this thing out. Okay, now I can't undo it. Man, this is like... I think this is why people have some like high school kid in the room with them doing all this stuff for them. And now my camera's getting all dark. What is going on with that? Technical difficulties all around. All right. Let's keep going through these tweets. I'll look into it. I'll watch some tutorials and figure that stuff out. There should be a way, though. I mean, there should be a way to do this. Like, can I react to this stuff? Well, I definitely don't want to put you guys in timeout. Like, even if I click on you, for example, I don't get any, there's nothing I can do to, like, interact exactly with what you just posted. I don't know. We'll have to figure this thing out. I'll watch some streamer videos and we'll get there over time. More U-Haul stuff. Not great. Someone had a good comment down here below that I liked. It's not apples to apples. That's true. He's team both. Someone down here said, Yeah, it's better to diversify and not have all your chips in one basket. Oh, here we go. This was the one that I liked. Okay, I don't know if I should read it out loud. No need to choose or be tribal. That was the thing I wanted to touch on. There's so much tribal behavior in the crypto space. Like, we can walk and chew gum. You don't have to pick one coin and only buy that one coin. Definitely bullish on both. Thought this was a good one. Europe's adoption. Look at some of the tokens in there. We got HBAR, Quant, XRP, XLM. In fact, the only one I didn't recognize was this X one here in the top right. So with Europe coming online, maybe they're the pathway forward. I mean, would love to see the Clarity Act work out, but if it doesn't, at least our friends over there in Europe are paving the way forward. And they're paving it forward with all the coins that we like here on this channel. Have I seen BlackRock using RLUSD as collateral? Not specifically, but it makes sense. With all the stablecoin stuff going on. Oh, drop my water bottle cap. With all the stablecoin stuff going on, it would make sense that they'd be doing that. Uh-oh. Did I just go offline? Okay, no, my screen just froze. We're good. Wait, did I go offline? Okay, no, we're good. We're good. On my side, my stream froze, but we're good. In Iran, I looked into this a little bit. I don't know how true some of this stuff is, but I've heard that the Iranian regime's using live rounds against their own protest / riot. If that's true, that's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna. If you guys like this stuff, I'll definitely cover more of it, because as much as I love crypto, there's other things I could talk about, and you know, we are getting close to the end of the stream, so I have to imagine, you know, if you're here for a reason. You know, this stuff could be a pretty big deal. I think the Iran situation, it's really interesting to me, is if you know the geopolitics of what's going on in the world, they're one of the few countries that are not part of the banking cartel, if you guys know what I mean. And so I'm not saying that they're good guys. I'm just saying that they're not part of the banking industry, or at least not the central banking industry, if you get where I'm going with that. I don't know the intricacies of what's going on there in Iran, but it definitely doesn't look good. I don't need your trust, only my bags. Oh, okay, you guys are talking to each other. I see. We might finish the stream with this. I saved it. I don't know if we'll watch it. I don't know. Maybe some people might not like it, but I thought it was hilarious. This is Ben Benacast. I think that's how you say his name. Dude's hilarious. Absolutely funny. But we'll hit to some of these more crypto-related tweets. Here's a statement from Brad. Let's just see what he's got to say. I think this is a 2-minute one.
We raised a seed round of capital way back in 2012.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah. I'm glad you asked this, because I'm always amazed as I travel the world, you know, how there is still confusion out there.
These
and people say to me,
really
I invested in Ripples. I'm like, no, you probably invested in XRP. So Ripple is in many ways kind of a quintessential Silicon Valley tech company. We raised a seed round of capital way back in 2012, a Series A investment in 2014, and then a Series B in 2016. And we have always, you know, since those early days, kind of focused on we're going to be Our customers are going to be enterprises, financial institutions. And we use XRP in part because we own a lot of XRP. XRP is an open source digital asset, not dissimilar to Bitcoin or ETH. It's on hundreds of exchanges around the world. It uses a different mechanism for validating transactions, where instead of proof of work or proof of stake, it uses something called a consensus mechanism, which allows it to be very scalable in terms of speed of transaction, cost of transaction, and just overall scalability. And so we felt like it worked well for the cross-border payments. So there's Ripple, the company, there's XRP, the digital asset, then there's XRP Ledger, XRPL. And the reason why we kind of call that out sometimes is Ripple is one important participant in the XRPL ecosystem, developer of XRPL related technologies, but there are obviously a whole bunch of others, as you would expect in an open source community. And we're seeing other participants do some really interesting stuff that sometimes we're involved in, sometimes we're not involved in. And so it's, I think, important for people to kind of understand the separation and distinction between those.
For sure. I mean, just quick question. Does that confusion that some people have, does it annoy you? Or is it like, well, this is a chance to educate? Or is it just one of those things?
Probably all three. Depending. I mean, it annoys me when you're someone who I kind of feel like knows the difference or should know the difference, and I feel like they're just contributing to the confusion. It's also like I get it in the evolution of crypto. Until probably 2019, I think CoinMarketCap.
Oh, that's too bad it ended early there. He said some things there that I definitely agree with, especially the part about Ripple being almost like a Silicon Valley type company. I said it earlier on the stream, actually, that Ripple's going to be like the Amazon.com of the crypto space. So I believe it was Diallo, another friend of mine here in real life, but he meant the Amazon.com thing. If Ripple is the tech company of the world for cryptocurrency, then, just by association, XRP and the XRPL are really going to do well. That's why I think they're going to do better than all of the other coins, to be completely honest. Touched on this earlier in the stream, but thanks to Xamin, you can now I just stumbled my words there. You can start to do one-click staking. It looks like you can even do one-click FXRP minting. That's something I'll have to look into. But this could be really interesting stuff. It'd make it a lot easier for people that maybe don't have the desire to really get into the weeds and figure out some of the user interface on desktop. Or if you just wanted to do this strictly on your cell phone, I think this is a good option for that. Let's see what some of the people down here say. If there's any extra information we can get out of this. I think it's just people asking questions. See, what's the risk? Can any of my XRP be lost? Let's see what the replies to this say. So, yeah, I agree with that. The only way your XRP could be lost is if they're unable to return it to you. And I suppose the only way that could happen is something catastrophic would have to go wrong. Either Flare just completely running out of capital or something to that effect. I don't think that there's risk of losing your XRP through the Flare network as far as being hacked would be concerned. That's not something I'm worried about, but if you're nervous about it, you guys don't have to do it. Over time, as this gets proofed out, I think more and more people are going to warm up to it. I'm doing it. I'll be making videos about my results. I'm going to do a Flare video soon where the gist of it is that I'm going to kind of horse race. I'm going to horse race my Flare tokens, which means putting equal amounts in delegation, staking, and as collateral for FXRP. And I'm just going to let it sit for 6 months. And then sometime in July or August, we'll do a part 2 video where we break down which one did the best. And then I'll be able to give a recommendation towards which of these avenues should you put your Flare tokens if you want to get the most gain. Right now, I'm staking and delegating, but they're not equal parts. So it's kind of hard to get a good read on which one's better, delegating versus staking. So keep an eye out for that. I'll probably shoot that one later this week or maybe next week. I want to cover off some quant content this week. I think there's some good things to be saying about quant. Interesting. Someone accumulated essentially 1,000 quant, which would be $75,000. Maybe not headline-worthy news, but it does show that there's someone out there with a lot of money buying this. Got an interesting development here in the crypto drama world. Jake Claver officially suing Zach Rector for defamation. There's two ways that you could unpack that. Way number one, you could say, well, he probably lost some people in his AUM, assets under management, over the accusations that Zach Rector made. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's guilty or not guilty, but let's see how this unravels, because I learned things about Jake from the Zach Rector videos that I didn't know prior, and if they are true, it's going to make it hard to trust that guy going forward. But not necessarily trying to get into the drama, but I thought this was interesting. Yeah, some of these comments. This makes Jake Claver look like a crybaby. Lost respect for him. Tend to agree with that. All right, let's keep rolling. So another Paul Barron tweet. Clarity Act after interviewing Warren Davidson and Amanda Tums. Did I say that right? Amanda Tums, like the thing you take when your tummy is upset. DeFi on Clarity, along with discussions of my source in DC. The yield bottleneck. Oh yeah, this is something we should definitely talk about. So the yield, the Democrats don't want us getting yield on our stable coins and DeFi protocols. Don't shoot the messenger if you're a Democrat. I'm just saying that's what's going on. Let's just read this real fast. The banking lobbies demand they want this loophole closed. They fear that if users can passively earn 5% risk-free on stablecoins, customers will withdraw billions from low-interest checking accounts, deposit flight, destabilizing community banks. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. That is what we want to do. If you're not in favor of that, well, it says a lot about your party. The Also Brooks proposal, the mechanism, this proposal allows crypto platforms to offer yield, but only if the customer takes a specific action, okay, like staking or locking it up for lending. It bans passive yield just for holding funds in a wallet. I don't know if they're saying that's a proposal or if that's going to happen. In general, if you want yield on your tokens, you do have to traditionally already do that unless you're holding stable coins. I don't really hold stable coins though. I mean, what do you want a 4% yield for when you could just buy something like XRP that's going to go up by factors of multiplication over the next couple of years? But whatever. Why it wins, bipartisan appeal. It gives the Democrats like Also Brooks a win by protecting community banks from possible deposit flight. If that's the way it plays out, we'll still find ways to get our yield. As I've always said on the channel, we're going to navigate things so that we come out on top as best as we possibly can. But it is annoying that the Clarity Act's getting hung up in the Senate by people that don't want us getting yield for our tokens because they don't want the banks to lose customers. This is a situation to me, it's like, why are we bailing out dinosaur banks that aren't getting with the program? If the banks would just launch their own stable coins, then it wouldn't be a problem. But that's the way the world is. Everything's got an angle, and we just have to find ways to navigate it. But it makes, I don't want to be politically divisive, but it kind of makes it hard not to be when you see stuff like that. Because isn't the whole idea to free ourselves from the banks? And the people that support that party, isn't that whole idea the eat the rich or whatever? Hello, your party's making it so that none of us can get rich. But anyways, I'm going to leave that there. Quant is the worst kept secret in crypto, not because people don't believe in it, but because they're too busy hoarding every last token. Seems kind of like a hype tweet. But it's interesting to think about, 14.8 million market cap. So not that the market caps or the total supply stuff, I think it's a little drawn out in this space, but all that really means is that a $75 quant could grow to, tens of thousands over the long term. I'm going to start dollar cost averaging small amounts into quant. It's not going to be crazy. Definitely don't want to be buying quant over XRP or over HBAR Flare, but maybe alongside it as very small speculative positions. I'm going to work on a video later today covering quant. I think that there's definitely something here. And if nothing else, if there is no other takeaway, quant could be a good alternative because Europe seems to be moving forward with regulation, whereas here in the United States, if we do get hung up on the 15th of January, quant has a pathway forward that could eat up some market adoption. So, something to think about. I'll probably be slowly dollar cost averaging more into quant just to see how that all shakes out. We're getting pretty close here to the hour, so I think we'll probably just start wrapping things up now. There's more tweets about Iran. Not looking so great over there. Let's start with the stream wrap up. Maybe I have time for one more question. We got one from AL. Your opinion, if Clarity Act passes on the 15th, will XRP go up or down? If it doesn't pass, does XRP go? So XRP not being a security, this is a good question. The adoption is what's going to move the price. What the Clarity Act is going to do is it's going to open up the rails that Wall Street and other big banks are looking for in order to start using crypto at scale. That's what's going to raise the price. So I don't think that just seeing the Clarity Act pass alone will move the price, but it'll enable action that'll happen this year that would move the price. The only thing I think that's going to move the price in the short term for XRP is if the reverse carry trade unwinds, which we're just going to have to keep an eye on that one. Otherwise, the effects of the Clarity Act would start to materialize later on this year. So don't look for immediate price action on the 15th. I wouldn't say that one way or another. I don't think the market's going to actually really respond to it. Whether it passes or if it doesn't pass, I think the price will remain the same. But what it does mean is that if it doesn't pass, mainstream adoption of other coins could be pushed back by years, which I think would really, I think that would really be a shame. If that does happen, then we're basically following Bitcoin for another 4 years, which I don't think any of us want. But that's what could happen if the Clarity Act doesn't pass. If it does pass, expect prices to rise this year, but not on the 15th. It's going to take time. With that, you guys, I'm going to start wrapping this up. I appreciate everyone that hopped in the stream. It seems like the new platform worked out a lot better. It doesn't sound like we had any hiccups in the connection, which is awesome. I appreciate everyone that's already joined the membership program. I'll spend some time this week figuring out how to give you guys some features on your end beyond just supporting the channel. That way you get some exclusive stuff. I think one thing we could do right off the bat is when I'm done with a video, I usually schedule it to post the following day. I can make it possible for you guys to see the video as soon as it's done, so you'll get early access to it. The cool advantage to that is, you'll get a chance to get your comments in before anyone else. So that'll make it possible for me, as this channel grows and gets bigger, to keep an eye on those comments. I'll always be able to answer your questions. And of course, you guys are here in the live stream, so we'll be able to kind of keep up with that as well. That said, I appreciate you guys. I am trying to take this full time. This was something I had to dance with over the Christmas break. Do I try to be a part-time YouTuber or try to take this full time? I figured if there was nothing in life really works out if you go halfway. So I was like, all right, we're going to dive all in, full-time YouTube, let's go. And you guys becoming members is part of how I make this all happen. So I really appreciate you guys. As the channel grows, my commitment to you is to keep having well-researched videos with filler content cut to a minimum. And I think you guys are going to really help make that possible for me. So with that, I appreciate everyone. Yeah, I'll look at getting a moderator as we get bigger. I think right now we're averaging about 40 people per stream. So, it's nothing crazy yet, but, we're just getting started. So we'll see how things play out. Gonna shoot a video on Quant here in a little bit. Should expect that video out tomorrow morning. And with that, you guys, I gotta get some lunch. Appreciate everyone for hopping on, and we will be right back here tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. to see what else is going on in the crypto space. For now, I've been Andrew Fillion. Take care. Where's the end button? Normally I